Good day to you, everyone. God bless you all. Welcome to another episode of The True Vine with Pastor Jay. I pray that you are having a great and a wonderful Mother's Day out there to all of you mothers. This message is not only in honor of all of you mothers out there who labor and love daily to take care of your children, or who may have labored in love daily to take care of your children and they're now grown, but also in particular in honor to my mother who has gone home to glory, Evangela D. Daniels McGowan. May she rest easy in heaven. God bless you, Mama. I love you. So I want to talk to you all today about a mother's love. And to illustrate this, I want to go to probably an unlikely place. But first of all, let me ask you this question. If you can think back over your life to the earliest memories of someone pointing out to other people how special you were, how wonderful you were, how talented, how smart, how beautiful or handsome, how lovable you were. Think back. Tug at that memory until you get it. Because I believe for a lot of us, if we can think about it, that very first person more than likely was our mother. That woman who carried us in her womb. I won't necessarily say for 9 months because as time has gone on, we've had more and more of an influx of premature babies and even some who have gone past 9 months. So these wonderful women who have carried us in their womb, who have birthed us out by whatever measure they had to birth us out, and who continue to take care of us, to clean up our boo-boos and wipe our noses and clean up our messes. This wonderful woman who labors in love every day is the first one to ever say the words, to ever utter the words, "Look at my baby." How wonderful it is to hear those words. We may not have known how wonderful they were or how powerful they were when we first heard them. After all, we were but a child. But even then, when we heard the praise of our mother, it gave us a childlike excitement and exuberance to know that somehow we had done something to please our mother. There's nothing like a mother's love. And so I want to go with you to the Epistle of John, chapter 2. And I want to draw your attention to the wedding feast, where Jesus did his first miracle and turned water into wine at a wedding. And if you read this here, you look at the very first chapter, and it says basically that on the third day, Mary, the mother of Jesus, was invited to a wedding feast. And Jesus and his disciples were as well. And as the wedding feast progresses, they ran out of wine. And so Mary comes to Jesus and she says, "Jesus, they ran out of wine." And Jesus looks at his mother and I don't know, maybe he was a little frustrated. Maybe, he was a little worried. I don't know. But he says to his mother, "Woman, what do I have to do with you? For it is not my time yet." But Mary doesn't say another word other than to tell the waiters of the feast to do what he says. And so Jesus has them line up 6 large pitchers. He tells them to fill it up to full. And then after he tells them to fill it up to full, he tells them, now draw and serve. And as they draw the water, that turn into wine, and they serve it to the governor of the feast. The governor of the feast says, usually they take the good wine and serve it first. And then as they well drunk, then they serve the worst wine for later. But you have served the good wine until now, waited to serve the good wine until now. This wonderful miracle was the first sign that was done to show the glory of who Jesus is. But that's not necessarily the part I want to draw your attention to. The part I want to draw your attention to is this. Mary, the mother of Jesus, knew just how special her son was. She knew just how wonderful Jesus was. She had an idea of just how powerful and how capable Jesus was. So much so that when they ran out of wine at the feast, her solution was, son, they've ran out of wine, believing that there was a solution that could be found in Jesus. In a way, this was the first opportunity that we could see where Mary told people, look at my baby. Because as we read down and we understand, the people who served as well as the disciples believed because of this miracle. They understood that there was something special about Jesus because his mother made sure that the attention was drawn to him, that he was to do something that would cause them to believe in him and that would cause them to understand that he was just as special as she already knew. The mother of Jesus recognized and understood that her son, that her baby boy who had grown up to be a man, was capable of doing mighty and wonderful things. So she said simply, look at my baby. Look at these great and these wonderful things that he's done. Oh, you can't beat a mother's love. You can't beat a mother's adoration. You can't beat a mother's attention. Those mothers who are proud, who love their children, who dote on their children, who believe their children are capable of miraculous and wonderful things. Those women who never give up on their children. Those women who labor over their children day in and day out, time after time, day after day, and don't give up. God bless those mothers who take care of their children. There surely is nothing like a mother's love. Think back. Every time you did a macaroni plate, every time you drew a picture that went up on the refrigerator door, every time you did a cartwheel that really wasn't quite right, but because of the fact that you actually got your feet off the ground, you heard your mother cheering yay. Every time you took a crawl, every time you took a step, every time you said mama or dad, every time you spoke something that sounded like a word, there was your mother to say, look at my baby and what he or she has done. There surely is nothing like a mother's love. And even in this narrative, as we see, because of the love that Jesus had for his mother, and because of the obedience that he had for his mother, even though it was not his time, yet and still he performed the miracle. Because mama said so. I don't know about you, but I know I can think back. I can remember the times that my mother was proud of me. I may not be able to remember each and every time, but I remember quite a few. I remember the times that she recognized that I was pretty good at singing. I remember the times that she recognized that I had a quirky and a funny way of doing things, and she thought that I could be a comedian. I remember the times where I worked out at school and I worked hard at weightlifting and things like that, and she used to dote and brag to her friends about how she couldn't pinch an inch of fat off my arms. Those things may not sound special or wonderful to you, but those things that my mother marveled in were special to me because my mother thought that I was something special because of these things. A mother's love. I remember my mother having to struggle to make sure that we had Christmas. I remember my mother trying to struggle to make sure that we had Thanksgiving dinners and Christmas dinners. I remember my mother having to struggle to make sure that we had lights and had gas in the home. I remember my mother crying sometimes when things were not going well. I remember my mother crying sometimes when my father was having some issues and she was trying to figure out how to be able to protect her children and how to get her marriage to work right. I remember all the times where things were not going well in the marriage, and yet my mother was trying to figure out how to make everything stay together and stick together. I even remember when there was a separation in my parents' relationship, and yet they were trying to piece things back together. I remember the labor of love that my mother had gone through trying to make sure everything was good. And even though sometimes she wasn't able to, even though she drove herself crazy at times, there was still that labor of love. There was still that attention that she put into maintaining her family. There was still that love that she put into everything that she did. No, she was not perfect. No, she didn't do everything right. But I can surely say there is nothing truly like the love of my mother. As I'm sure Jesus could attest to concerning his. And if you think back to yours, I believe that we could share the same testimony. Jesus was so devoted to his mother. He loved his mother so much that even after he was scourged, even after he was beaten and mocked, even after he had a crown of thorns fitted to his head and a robe put on him to mock him as to being what he actually really was, which was King of the Jews, even after he carried his heavy cross up that hill called Golgotha, even as he was stretched out and being nailed to the cross, it was hung on that cross with the sins of the entire world pinned to it. There his mother was with him all of those times, witnessing the acts that was being done to him, witnessing the whole situation transpiring. There his mother was close by, as close as she could get, so she could see what was going on with her baby, what was going on with her son. She was there to support him and to witness those things that which he had to go through. And there she was at his side, even as he was being crucified, so much so that he looked upon his mother and his disciple John. He looked at him and said, "Behold, there is your mother. Mother, behold, there is your son." Even as he was being crucified, he made sure that his mother was taken care of, because he recognized a mother's love. I don't know about you, but my mother is the most special woman that I've ever had in my life. We may not have always gotten along. We may not have always seen eye to eye, but I've always known that she loves me. I've done my best to respect her, even though I've made some mistakes. And so today, as I look back on all the things that my mother has done, I can't help but feel pride and love and adoration to the woman who helped bring me into life, to the woman who took care of me, who did her best in spite of all that she went through, the woman who said, "There goes my baby. Look at my baby," every time I did something special, to the woman who doted on me, to the woman who made me feel special. And as you go through this day, whether your mother is here or not, I encourage you to honor your mother, to give her the love and the respect and the honor that she deserves. I encourage you, if your mother, especially if your mother is still here, to hug on her, to love on her, to let her know that she's the most special woman in your life, to make her feel like the queen that she is, to make her feel like the special and the favored mother that she is. Because mothers truly do find favor with God. I would take after Jesus and make sure that your mother's needs are met on today. Pamper her, spoil her just a little bit. Show her how much you appreciate her. Because Jesus understood it back then, and we should understand it today. That there is absolutely nothing like a mother's love. This is Pastor Jay with the Vineyard True Vine Ministries. I ask that you please share this message out. And when you get a chance to, subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can get all the upcoming messages. And to all of you mothers out there, God bless you. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. And may he give you peace on this day and for the rest of your lives. Happy Mother's Day from Pastor Jay and the Vineyard True Vine Ministries.
Stop button.